Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast. Andrea Earhart here, muralist, adventurer, and your host as I interview inspiring artists who are killing it in the art game to show you that it's completely possible to make a great living doing the thing you love to do. We highlight the business side of art to help you reach more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creative freedom. Enjoy the show. This episode is sponsored by the Mural Master Program inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership. This program is specifically designed to help you with every step of the mural process, from coming up with an idea to finding a wall to paint it on to pitching your ideas to businesses, and finally, of course, I teach you exactly how to paint large scale. Murals are a lot of fun and a great way to grow your art business. I know, because it has been one of the top ways that I've been able to grow my own art business as quickly as I have. With several years of experience as a muralist, I've dialed down the painting techniques, the proposals, the pitching, the whole bit. And now I've compiled it into one resource for you called the Mural Master Program. This is included inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership, and I would love to invite you to join us by going to artistacademy.co, that is artistacademy.co, and click the link to see the Mural Master Program and learn more. And that's it, so let's get on with the show. Hello, we have another solo episode today, and today we're going to talk about one of the most popular topics that come up in my Instagram inbox, which is pricing. We're going to start by, I'm going to walk you through how I have priced and paid myself with my art through my entire art career, but mostly focusing on the now and how I'm altering my pricing in 2021. So right off the bat, I have made a art pricing guide just for anybody who has questions about this. I send it to people all the time in my DMs who ask about pricing. It is at artpricingguide.com. Very literal, artpricingguide.com. If you want to download that, that's a much more like walkthrough of how to price your art if you're just getting started and whatnot. Because like I said, I'm going to run through how I've priced my art in the past, but mostly we're going to talk about 2021 and how I'm pricing canvas and murals today. And okay, so just to go over a little, basics in here, I price my art by the hour. So time is life's ultimate currency in my mind. That's how I think. And I've just known square footage or square inches, which is the other pricing method, to just not work well in my business. Now, I know many, many people who that is, the end-all be-all. They price their art by square foot, by square inch, for murals and canvases, and it works really well for them. And, it's a really good system. You can just send, your pricing chart to a customer that you can see that what size they want from this and that. But to me, pricing it by the hour is just easier, and it's just what works for me, mostly because there are certain things that require a lot more detail, which require a lot more hours on my part. And to me, painting a 10 by 20 inch painting as compared to a 30 by 40 inch painting, there's not that much more added to it in time-wise, for me anyway. And I know several people, it's very different, but for me, so hourly rate is what we're mostly going to talk about. Again, download artpricingguide.com to go through the whole step-by-step and figure out what your system is. And also, one more disclaimer before I get into this. I live in small town, nice, everybody waves at each other on the street, Midwest. And with living here comes really low living costs, a really low cost of just about everything as compared to, the East and the West coasts of the United States. And thus, with that comes, a lower hourly rate in most cases, or a lower square footage rate, and just a lower cost of art in general. So we're just going to be speaking in generalities today. But so I've found that whenever I'm talking to people who, like the Maria Brophies of the world, I've noticed that a lot of times whenever she quotes the price of getting her canvases photographed, it's about double of what it is here. So if you live outside of the Midwest, roughly maybe double the prices that I'm about to say. Anyway, so just to work back, whenever I first got into the mural business, I started by charging $30 per hour. And to me, $30 per hour back in the day was a lot of money, mostly because I had just graduated college, so I did go to college for art, so I had quite a bit of time with a brush in my hand. I don't think that college is absolutely necessary, but time with a brush in your hand is the thing. And the more time you spend with a brush in your hand, I think the more time that you can raise your prices. So I started out at $30 an hour, and that was very accepted here. People were super happy about it. It took me double as long as it does now to do jobs, but it's still, I worked for $300 a day. Businesses could easily say yes to that. I started by painting logos for businesses around town, and then slowly got into murals. And how I got into murals is I was hired by a local outdoors company. Well, okay, so they're based here local, but they had stores all over the United States. So I got hired by them, and I started off making $45 an hour for them, which to me was life-changing. To get a job that paid consistently, I showed up and worked at least 40 hours, typically 60 hours a week, sometimes 70 hours a week for this job, and getting paid $45 an hour. That was a $100,000 a year job, and that was completely life-changing for me. And it's funny because, just to, not to get too woo-woo for you, but I have been very ambitious for a long time, and I remember just sitting down and writing down, I was like, I want to make $100,000 a year. Like, I want to do this. And I started a couple different businesses, and then just dabbled in art here and there, and I was just like, I put it out there, like, I want to make $100,000 a year. And not long after that, after I just put it out there and I was out there networking and I was really trying, I got this job for $45 an hour, which if you calculate it, at least 40 hours a week, which we were working 60, it's $100,000 a year. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. So in a sense, I got paid to practice more with a brush in my hand by a really prestigious company. And so I started out with 45, and then I didn't argue. That's not a right term. I negotiated a raise up to $57 an hour, because I went from doing logos for them to murals, and one of the muralists on the team there, one of the older muralists, he was just amazing. He was the one who pushed me to do my first big mural. He really took me under my wing, which is a huge reason now why I sit down to record a podcast like this. And because I know how much, having a mentor in your life can help you just propel. Anyway, long story short, he told me that he was making $75 an hour. And I was like, what? That is so crazy, which is so cool, by the way, for someone to just be so open like that. And he also told me that the highest paying muralists there were making $100 per hour. I was like, what? Oh my gosh. Granted, he had been working for this company for 10 years, and the company, the longer you were there, the more you got paid, and that's how their system worked. Even though we were all, contracted, so I was on my own business, they had a certain system to where, they weren't going to pay you unless you had, unless you had been with the company for a long time. Anyway, I was like, wow. I remember thinking $100 an hour. Oh my God, wow. I remember telling, a friend at the time, I'm like, that's my goal. Like, that's what I want. And I know it would take, years to get there. And I was fine with that. So I just, with brush in hand, kept getting better, learning from people around me, and just kept going. So fast forward to that company did not need me as much. They went into another direction, and basically, I chalk that up to whenever you work in construction, which is where I painted, which, they were building new stores and we were painting them. Construction is very up and down. You get feast or famine. Like you're really, really busy and then you're just not for a couple of years. And then you're really busy and then you're not. Well, they hit that down point to where they just weren't building many new stores. So if you've heard, episode 1 of this, you've heard this before, but so I had to find my own way. And I came back home after traveling for about 2 years straight and hardly ever being home. And I had to work from ground zero again and build my clientele, my marketing here around town. So I just got really honest with myself and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to paint literally anything anybody gives me, as long as it's for something, I'll do it. And so I started myself back down to $30 an hour. And that's just what I did. And I did a couple jobs around town. And then after a few months, after the Christmas season, I was very busy. I was getting a bunch of different things, mostly because I was out there pitching myself, which we go over in the Artist Academy. Take a flyer out, go pitch yourself to businesses, go talk to people, go network, go all the things. I did all the things, and I was begging people to hire me, basically. And so then I raised my rate again to 55, and I was like, okay, well, and it didn't take long to go from 30 to 55, because again, I had a lot of time to do have a paintbrush in my hand. And so then after about a year of working at about 55, I raised my rate to 75 because I'm not really sure what happened in there. I know what happened. I told one person, there was one job that I got hired on, and I was like, okay, I'm going to tell him $75 an hour. And he, without blinking, without hesitating, I was like, okay. And I was like, what? Okay. So my rate went from $50 to $75 an hour. And that's because I knew that some of the really good muralists were making 75. And I thought that I was working my way up to there. I thought I could compete with them. And so I was like, okay, $75 it is. And then the next year, this was last year, I raised my rate to $85 an hour because I'm just getting faster. I'm just getting better. And, the jobs, like I said, that I could do back in the day, I now do it in double the time. And the outcome is so much better because I've had that time with a paintbrush in my hand. Now, this year, I'm charging $95 an hour, and you have no idea how many times I think back to that conversation that I've had with that muralist about how he said he made $75 an hour, and there was people making $100 an hour, and I think back to my first, mural job of $30 an hour, and even I think back all the time to the first job I ever had, which was being a hostess at a small town diner from the small town that I'm from, and I made $5 to $5.50 an hour there, and I think back to that all the time. And I'm so grateful to have worked my way up through the ladder of my own art business, and I also want to say too, if I would have stayed with that outdoor company and worked my way up through there, it would have taken me, 7-8 years to be making $75, $85, $95 an hour. Whereas working on my own, we get to charge whatever we want, whatever the market is willing to pay. There's nobody that's going to say no. Okay, there are people that are going to say no, I'm not going to, pay you that. But we set our own pricing. We do that. And, if you want to work for yourself, you can charge whatever you want. There's no raise negotiations. There's no anything. You have full control. Okay, so now we're in present day. We went through the whole past and how we got up here. And I hope that helps you, just really feel better about what stage you're in and look forward to what stage you're going to be in a year or 2 years or 5 years. We're so in the long game, and this is the best career in the world. Okay, anyway, so we are in today, present time, now we're going to talk about how I'm pricing in 2021. So I'm making $95 an hour, which is just crazy and awesome. And okay. And I will say though that I had to get very honest with myself and sit myself down and be like, okay, Andrea, murals are going great. We are doing fantastic in that. Be proud of yourself for that. But canvases are just not going very well. And if I'm being completely honest, I have never, that I can recall, I don't think I have ever sold a painting on canvas for more than $1,000. Yeah, never. And it's funny because I have Artist Academy members, students who have been in the game for like a couple years and who do awesome work, but they've sold for over $1,000 and I have not. I'm like, wait a second. Okay, what's going on here? Like, okay, how can I work up to that level? So what's really worked for me in the past is just starting low and building it up and then going high. And maybe starting by doing a couple of things for free and then doing a couple of things for low pay and then medium pay and then working up to what we are now at $95 an hour, which is a lot to me. And I'm not going back to doing things for free. That's not happening. But I have to tuck my pride aside and just leave it out of this equation and really think about why this isn't going so well with the canvas. And I really think that and this really, really came to, or showed proof of, because I just did my art auction. And I had a bunch of things posted on my website for hundreds of dollars, a couple of $1,000 things. And I put everything up for auction. I'm like, just make me an offer. And I put the lowest bid that someone can make was at 25% of the total cost. So if it was $1,000, it started at $250, which is a crazy down, like this is just a crazy starting point. But a lot of things, I had a lot of small things on there too that started at $100, and so I put those at $25 or whatnot, and people bid on them, and a lot of people bid on them. Like, I was overwhelmed with the response, which tells me that people want to buy my art. It's just priced out of their budget. And that's just how it is. And so I'm not saying that I'm going to, go down and, make $5 an hour just to sell things. Like, that's not going to happen. But I think I found a little sweet spot of where I can offer paintings for $95 and they're selling like hotcakes. And I also think it's a combination now. So from learning from that art auction, realizing that people just don't want to buy and can't buy. Okay, it's not they don't want to, it's they can't buy $1,000 painting. That doesn't work for them in their household, because a lot of my clientele is here in the Midwest and in Springfield, and I know that because a lot of people come by to pick up their paintings. The last 3 that I sold the last 3 days, people have just dropped by to pick them up. And even though my Instagram spans to many different states and many different countries, it's the locals are the ones who are really invested in me because they've seen me grow. They've seen me do all of the story that I've told you. A lot of them have, and they've seen my art locally, and so they follow me on Instagram, and so they want a piece of their own. And there's a lot of locals who are buying things, and the perceived value here of art just isn't what it is in some other big locations. And there's good and bad to that. I wouldn't trade living here and selling art here for anything. It's easier to be a standout artist in a small town. Whereas if you're in the big cities, there's a lot of big time artists and there's just a lot of competition. Not saying that's bad, but for here it's worked out in my favor because there's a lot of room to move around and paint things here. But the cost, people perceive the perceived value as just lower than it is in Miami or LA and whatnot. And so I'm just going to have to meet the people where they are. And which is why I started offering $95 for my glitter rain minis, which I'm having so much fun with. They're just so fun to do. And I think that is a combination of getting the price point at a price where people can buy it rather easily. There are still people who look at my $95 painting and think, who does she think she is? I would never pay that for glitter. Trust me, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, that's a little, I don't know. And even some friends are like, ooh, I really like that. I'll have to save up. Like it's just out of a lot of people's price range. And I think it's a combination of meeting them where they are with price, and so this is a big and finally finding my style and finding something that people go crazy for and doing it over and over again. I finally found that thing because I've had the years and years of paintbrush in hand to find my thing and to do it well and to do these clouds. I just finished a hot air balloon painting last night that is so just beyond my expectations of that high school artist just starting out. I never thought I could do something like this, and I had so much fun doing it. So I think it's a combination of those both of those things. Paintbrush in hand for many, many, many years, and putting the price where people can afford it because people want it. I was pricing myself out. I'm going to work up from $95, and again, it takes me an hour to do these, so which is partially why I set it at $95. And I mean, it's my hourly rate, and it's under 100. So we'll just talk about, numbers for a second. There's so much content online about numbers. So just to break it down really quickly, and a lot of people know this already, but so I'm just going to run through it. But somebody will pay $95 for something, but won't pay $110 for something. And people will pay $5 in shipping, but they won't pay $15 in shipping. That's just an absolute no. And those, just working out those little prices was what I'm currently trying to do, and working my way up from the bottom and working it up slowly so people get used to, paying this. And maybe, if someone gets a $95 one, they'll eventually buy a $200 one, and then a $300 or maybe a $500 one down the road. It's like a gateway art purchase. It's like you're entering that gate with that $95 amount, and then they have it in their home. They get lots of compliments on it, and then they want another one. And then in a year, my prices are up to $180. And they're like, okay, well, it's a bit more, but I love it so much, I'll pay that. And so that's the psychology that I go through in my head, that I try to get into my customer's mind of what they would think, and the psychology of numbers and all of this stuff to price my art right now. Just this whole, going from small to big kind of a thing. And it's so funny too. So just to talk about murals versus canvas, I think the psychology on that is that, a mural is very big, and people will pay more for bigger things. It's just that perceived value of, if I'm painting a whole wall for you, that's an easier yes to a $500 amount than a $500, 30 by 40 canvas, even though that's a pretty big canvas. But just look at them, like hold a canvas up to a wall. Just your mind, that wall is 10 times, 20 times bigger than that canvas. So we think that it should be, it should be worth more. And so whenever people price things, I think that the size has a lot to do with it. So where my murals this year are starting at $700, not doing anything, less than $700 for a mural, my canvases are starting at $95 or like $180. So if somebody wants to order a custom thing and they tell me what to do, then that's starting at like $180-ish for something that takes me just a couple hours, and it'll go up from there. But anyway, so I had a conversation with someone, with a client or a future customer the other day, and we were talking on the phone, and somebody referred him to me. He was talking about maybe doing a photo op in his business, and it was just like maybe a 6 by 6 foot space, and we're going to work together to create a design that people want to get in and take pictures in, which is like my niche with murals, right? And he asked for price, and we were talking about it. He was so excited. He's like, how much do you think this will be? And mind you, I had been in my emails, in my inbox, and just talking to people about canvases for the last couple days because I had a video go viral. So I had a lot of people wanting canvases. It was that elephant swing. I had one video go viral on TikTok, so a ton of people were in my DMs, in my inbox, messaging me about custom canvases, and so many people were saying, oh no, I can't do like 500, I don't know, like, and so this was a couple days worth. So this guy who was asking for a mural here locally asked for price, and I was like, well, I'd say anywhere between like 1,000 to 1,500, and we could probably get something pretty good. Like, and he was like, oh, okay, great, that's just fine. So I was just like laughing in my head because this guy is here be like, oh yeah, $1,000 is super doable, no problem. Where I have people in my inbox for canvases for the last couple days being like, oh no, 500, oh no, that's way out of my thing. And I'm like, that's fine. I offer prints, here you go. They start as low as $40, no big deal, right? It's just this whole big difference. So I'd say if you're a moneymaker, if you're out for money, murals is the way to go. And speaking of murals, just to go over a couple of the other artists, muralists that I know and have known for a while. So Lissa, she has been with me in the Artist Academy since the very beginning. She was one of my first ever students, and I just remember her back in the day because she was already a full-time artist. She was doing well, and she just wanted more. She wanted to learn more about everything. She was hungry, and I knew it. I was like, this girl is gonna go far, and she is now. It's just so fun looking at her now. Like, she's charging. We just had a conversation in the Artist Academy here recently. We were both commenting on mural prices, and she mentioned how she charges about $75 an hour, and that equals to about like 15-ish, maybe 12-ish dollars per square foot, which doesn't seem like a lot if you're talking square foot, right? But I mean, she does it quickly, and that's just what people are paying. And you know, she's trying to charge all these other things, and this is what she's landed on. So she's charging $75 an hour. She's been in the game for how long? I'm not sure exactly, but she's been with me for 2 years. I know that she was a full-time artist for a couple years before that, so it's been a while, and she's a great product. And so she's at Barefoot and Doodles on Instagram. Another one at Murals by Whitney on Instagram. So Whitney, fabulous. So she has been in the game 10 years, I want to say. 10, I think it's 10 this year, 10 last year, something like that. And she is charging $100 plus or $100 plus per hour for her murals, which is just so awesome. Right? So she's been in the game a little bit longer than me, so just charging a little bit more than me, and and she's booked out. Like, she's completely booked for the last 3 years. But she's been in the game for a really long time, paintbrush in hand for a really long time, and that's what she's charging. She lives in Houston. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of some other artists that I know who are doing well, who are a little bit later in, they've been in the art world for a while. They're not newbies by any means, but just to kind of show you what's possible in the mural world. And to move it back to canvases just a bit for this final note in here, I am charging way less for shipping and charging a little bit more for my prints and originals, prints this year. So I'm bumping up my print prices just a little bit, maybe like $10 or so, and I'm bumping that shipping down because, I'm on Shopify, and Shopify is really good on the back end because it lets you know where people are purchasing in the world, where they're getting stuck on their purchase journey on your website. And it showed me a lot of people were leaving a lot of items in the cart and not purchasing. And they also showed me the statistics of why, and the majority of the reasons, a lot of people are window shoppers. They'll just put it in there and then back out for later. But a lot of people were getting completely to the checkout page, seeing the tax added on, the shipping added on, and everything. And suddenly, a $200 painting turned into a $250 painting, and they're just like, ugh, I just can't pull the plug on that. Can't pull the plug. can't pull, I don't know. And they were backing out. And so they say, their suggestions on Shopify is to lower the price of shipping and or offer free shipping. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking advice from the higher ups who make it their mission, their job to do this, and they're informing me about how it is. And so I am upping my price of my prints. And really what that does, if you think about it, it's the whole perceived value thing. If someone's paying $100 for a painting and $20 is shipping, they're like, ugh, shipping. I feel like your money is getting wasted in shipping. However, if I have a print that's $120 and shipping is free, that print is now a $120 item, and they're going to take a little bit better care of it. And that's just the truth. And I've seen this in action because I have sold, I did a quick little painting here. It was one of my little lettering things, and one of my friends wanted it. And he was like, hey, I really want that. Can you sell that to me? And I was like, yeah, sure, $20, whatever. He was a friend. I'm just like, here you go, take it. And he's like, oh, okay, awesome. And that it didn't get framed. It's just hanging out. It's just, yeah, it's not even, he's just like, okay, thanks. And it's just like, it's not a centerpiece to his house. Anyway, that same friend wanted to buy a print here about a year later. And I was like, okay. So I just charged him what I would normally charge. The cost of a print is about $200 for a print as compared to his original lettering thing. And that print is in the living room of his house. Just super proud. Everybody can see it when you walk in. That is the thing. He had this perceived value. I paid $200 for this. Everyone's gonna see it. Whereas I paid $20 for this, and it'll be in my office. And it's just not everybody's like that. That's just one kind of example, but you get what I'm saying. If somebody pays more for something, they're going to take care of it. They're going to love it more. It's just, and if they pay, more for shipping, they're just going to, people are like, Amazon has ruined it for all of us. Amazon has completely ruined the e-commerce business. And so I highly suggest everybody just, we're at the beginning of the year still. I just went through my whole website. I'm redoing everything, redoing the appearance. I'm putting more pink on my website because heck with it, that's my brand now. And it's funny, just one note, I always thought that if I put pink in places online, if somebody came along and they saw pink, they wouldn't take me seriously. But now I'm throwing it out, and that's another change I'm doing. Aside from pricing, I'm just I'm being myself, my brand, because things that I create on my own just sell better than what people want me to be. Anyway, okay, that's how I'm pricing this year. Wait, did I mention this? I don't know. One more quick note. For logos, if you are painting a logo, I will just come out and say, I don't think you should charge less than $500 for that logo. Whether for a business and such, businesses will pay that, especially here. Businesses will pay $500 for a logo easy. If you're out of the Midwest, even if you're in Kansas City, St. Louis area, which is much bigger area than I'm at, I'd say $1,000, $700 at least for a logo. I'd say $1,000 for a logo. That's just what it is. If you want to paint logos for businesses, and if anybody wants more info on logos, I could possibly do something on here or in the Artist Academy. But logos are how I got started, and they're a really good moneymaker for someone who, even I pitch this to people all the time. I'm like, what if you just did one logo a week and then you painted canvases the rest of the week? I mean, you'd make $1,000 for the week, working 2 days maybe. And you can paint whenever you want for the rest of the week. So anyway, just another note talking about pricing and all of the things. And yeah, okay. That's it. I hope you get a handle on your pricing or change it up or, just charge what you're worth. And I hope this gives you a good insight on what I am doing. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your year, I guess. I don't know. Okay. All right. I'm out. I will see you next week. This episode is sponsored by the Mural Master Program inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership. This program is specifically designed to help you with every step of the mural process. From coming up with an idea, to finding a wall to paint it on, to pitching your ideas to businesses, and finally, Of course, I teach you exactly how to paint large scale. Murals are a lot of fun and a great way to grow your art business. I know, because it has been one of the top ways that I've been able to grow my own art business as quickly as I have. With several years of experience as a muralist, I've dialed down the painting techniques, the proposals, the pitching, the whole bit. And now I've compiled it into one resource for you called the Mural Master Program. This is included inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership, and I would love to invite you to join us by going to artistacademy.co, that is artistacademy.co, and click the link to see the Mural Master Program and learn more. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. If you review our podcast and send a screenshot of that review to me on Instagram, I am Art by Andrea Earhart. I will gladly share your art on my Instagram story with a reach of over 60,000 as a thank you for helping us grow this Artist Academy community. And speaking of community, if you would like to be a part of our absolutely free and very encouraging community on social media, just head over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy, and I will see you next week.